Hi everyone, this is Kit Payne, the founder of Boston Speaks. And in this video, we're going to be talking about how you can use storytelling to your advantage, right? It's the new state of actually it's not new, but it's the state of the art technology that you need to know how to take advantage of. Because just for example, if you play golf or if you don't play golf, right? Let's say in fitness, if there's a new way to practice your technique so you can be better at golf, don't you want to just get better at it? And won't there be a whole line of people wanting to learn that technique? It's the same thing with your communication skills and especially with storytelling. So if you want people to respect you, to trust you, if you want to become a better leader, if you are a business owner, do you know how to use stories to sell to your clients, to relate to your clients? If you are an entrepreneur, if you are even working nonprofit, do you know how to use storytelling to create change? So in this video, we're going to be talking about the science behind storytelling and why it's so effective. And then in part two, we're going to talk about how you can practice storytelling. And we're going to go over a formula that you can use every single day, no matter if it's in marketing, in sales, one-on-one relationships, groups, like public speaking. So if you are watching the replay of this live stream a little bit later, you can drop your comments in the box below. I'd love to see if I can help answer any of your questions. But if you are in the live stream right now, welcome everyone. And if you have any questions along the way, please put them in the comments because we can make this very interactive. Again, my name is Kit Payne, the founder of Boston Speaks. And at Boston Speaks, we're all about here helping you improve your communication and your public speaking skills. Okay, so let's dive into storytelling. Now, you know this is not a new buzzword that you've been hearing. So this is what the research said, okay? They wanted to find out from Obama to Martin Luther King, why did they compel people to take action? What made them so compelling? Why are they such good speakers? More importantly, why did people take action based off of what they said? Okay, even more than motivating or inspiring people, people took action based off of what they said. And here's what they found out. 65% is based on emotional appeal. So what does that mean to you? 65% emotional appeal, right? Emotional appeal is relating to the heart. So if you think of a good movie, if you think of a good story, if you think of someone that's able to relate with you, you want people to say, wow, yes, I can feel that too, or yes, that's me, right? You can relate to the person. That's emotional appeal. Because sometimes when I say this, they try to say, okay, emotional appeal is this, that, and that. They don't know how to say it. If you were to tell what emotional appeal is to a kid, it's saying to the kid, well, are you able to relate to others through the heart, right? Can they feel what you're talking about? So the best way to relate to the heart is through storytelling. 25% is on logical appeal. So we had 65% emotional appeal, 25% logical appeal. So what does that mean? Everything that I'm saying now, right? The bullet points, the facts, the logic, the details. And most presentations or papers, you will see a list of things, X, Y, and Z. Okay, so we have 65% emotional appeal, 25% logical appeal. Who can do math? If you can do math, we have 10% left. What is that 10%? That 10% is your credibility, right? Some people think, oh, I have to be a master. I have to be such a good expert to be able to talk about the things that I do or to be able to share the information that I'm about to share. So here's the thing. If you are an expert, right, you can even be a fifth grader and you'll be an expert to a third grader, right? That's an expert. Even if you were a college student, sometimes you're too far in advance to be able to relate to the third grader. The third grader will think, I don't know what you're talking about. And this is one of the major problems and issues that we have as storytellers or as presenters, speakers, sales, marketing, leadership. We fall into something called the curse of knowledge. I'm going to say that again. We fall into something called the curse of knowledge. You know how you go and watch your YouTube videos and you are reading articles of things that you're interested in, but it's the first time when you say something, it's the first time that the other person might actually hear it. So even though I know everything about storytelling, it might be the very first time you heard anything about storytelling. So when you are presenting yourself, Is it easy for people to understand you? Sometimes we have this curse of knowledge and we just say, okay, here's what I think. Don't you get that? Why don't you get that? It's so simple, because you've been researching it. You've been looking up all the articles. You've been looking up all the YouTube videos. But again, it's the first time that the person might actually hear it. So again, I want to backtrack. Why are leaders so compelling? Because 65% emotional appeal, 25% logical appeal, right? So emotional appeal, you're talking to the heart. Logical appeal, you're appealing to the head. You have logic and you have the heart. And 10% credibility, right? Your personality. What's your expertise? Who are you? Why should I be able to listen to you, right? So a little bit about my background. I teach communication skills to Fortune 500 companies, for example. And here's the thing that I've learned about storytelling. No matter if it's a CEO or it's just someone walking down the street, we all have the same challenges when it comes to us presenting ourselves, when it comes to storytelling. And these are the typical 3 things that I want to talk about. Level 1, storyteller. Okay, no matter if it's on email or you're just saying a story to another person or you're presenting. Level 1 storyteller. I used to be this way. I grew up in Hong Kong, and when I came here to America, when I was growing up, my cousin said this to me once. He said, "Why are you saying I don't know all of the time? Don't you have your own opinions?" And I just said, "I don't know." Right? I was a level 1 storyteller because I didn't think I have stories. I thought that my life was mundane. And I thought that storytelling was for the movie stars, books, celebrities, Netflix shows, well, there was no Netflix back then, but the shows that I watched. I was a level 1 storyteller because storytelling to me was something that people told. Sometimes they could be very long. Sometimes I don't think I have stories. I didn't think stories were important. But the more I learned about storytelling, right, I noticed level 2 storytellers. You ever heard stories from people, right? They tell stories all of the time, but then in your head, you're thinking, what's your point? Why are you still telling that story? How does it relate with me? How does it help the business? Why are you just telling me your story? I gotta go. I don't want to listen to your story anymore. Now, I'm sure we all know these people in our lives. It could be, maybe it's not you, but maybe it's your best friend. Maybe it's your significant other. But level 2 storytellers, they tell stories. They tell stories about what's happening in their lives. They tell stories about other people. But at the end of the day, you're in your mind, you're thinking, they're still telling that story. It's a sob story for the first 10 minutes I got into it. But now, what's the point? Now we're going into level 3 storytelling. Level 3 storytellers are purposeful storytellers. They know how to match their stories to their audience. They're not just telling a story just for the heck of telling a story, right? So what's the difference between a comedian and a humorist? What do you think? What's the difference between a comedian and a humorist? A comedian just tells jokes to get laughs. A humorist tells jokes in order to prove a point. Same thing in becoming a better storyteller. Do you tell stories to prove a point, right? If it's a business situation, why are you telling these exact same stories? So just a little story. 2 years ago, and I just want to introduce myself a little bit more on the personal side now. I'm married to my lovely wife. Her name is Agne. And she does not want kids. So actually 2 years ago, we adopted one cat. Her name is Kiwi. And for 1 year, we thought she was very lonely because here's the thing, I did not even want cats. The Kiwi was at the windows, looking outside all of the time. So we thought she was bored. So my wife said, okay, let's get another cat. So we went to the adoption center. Instead of getting one more cat, we got 2 more cats. So now we have 3 cats. And here's the thing, the introduction went really bad. They can actually not be in the same room because if they get into the same room, there's fight and bleed all over the place. And this is such an issue. Have any of you heard of this? How you run your personal life is how you run your business life. My personal life with the cats is chaotic because they cannot be in the same room, and it's been over 1 year. I've actually went to the library. I got stacks of library books, 10, 20, and I watched at least 10 documentaries, okay? Our cat issue got so bad, we actually had to call a cat whisperer. That's right. We had to call a cat behaviorist. She wrote the book, The Cat Whisperer. She's from Texas. She's not even from Boston, where I'm at, and because I wanted the best one. So we talked to the cat whisperer. She actually gave us a 3-week plan. Now, I'm not sure if we have cats or dogs, but she gave us a 3-week plan that we have to work on. And here's the thing. At the end, actually, it still wasn't working. So she actually prescribed medicine. And the thing was, she was not a vet, so we actually had to go to another cat behaviorist who was also a vet. But anyway, we had to give one of the cats, Lily, to mellow her down. So we got this medicine, and how the heck do you give a cat a medicine, right? I've never done it before. And so I asked the vet, well, how do you give a cat a medicine? And she said, put some tuna on it. The cat would just lick it up. So the first day I tried this, I'm like, hey, Lily, come on, here's the medicine. I put some tuna on it. She was smelling it, and then she just went away. And I'm like, oh man, I got to give her this medicine. So I was asking, my friends and posting on Facebook, how do you give a cat medicine? And someone shared this Instagram story, Instagram post of me. You put the medicine next to the cat's mouth, and so she'll open her mouth and just slide in. So I actually tried this, and it was horrible. Lily was crying all over the place, like, and so of course, the next thing that I did was I went on Google, and there's something actually called pill pockets. It's these cat treats where you can put the pill inside the treat and then just close it up. And so the first day I got the pill pocket, put the treat inside, and I'm like, come on, Lily. She actually came over, and I just dropped the pill pocket. And you know what she did? She just ate up that chicken-flavored pill pocket. You see, that pill is like information, right? We give a lot of information. Take this pill. Take this information. It's good for you. All this research is good for you. You need it because of X, Y, and Z reasons. But that pill pocket is like a story. When you wrap your facts in a story, people want to digest it, just like that pill pocket. But here's the thing. At first, Lily did not want the pill with the tuna on it. She wanted the pill with the pill pocket and the chicken flavor. So here's the thing. Are you a purposeful storyteller? Do you know the exact stories you need to wrap your facts around so it's more digestible for your audience? And here's what they also said. Once you put your facts in the story, people are 22 times more likely to remember those facts. If you want to inspire people, if you want to motivate people, if you want to help change the world, first they have to remember your facts. They have to remember what you said. I can talk all day long for an hour, but I'm sure you will not remember one whole paragraph of what I said. Maybe you get snippets, but people have to remember exactly what you said. And once you wrap it in a good story, people will remember, because that's how it works in our society. For example, I was in the car the other day, and my wife and I were listening to the song by Ariana Grande, and I'm like, I don't know what she's saying. Blah, 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 like Shaggy, blah, 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 blah. And then when she's saying the chorus, it's like we both knew what she was saying, right? Sometimes we just need those little takeaways for us to understand, but we have to enjoy the journey along the way. That's what a good story can do, right? People enjoy your story along the way, but again, you have to be a level 3 storyteller. You have to know why it's important to you have to connect the dots for your audience. You see, I just told a story about my cats. That's a regular story, right? When I was a level 1 storyteller, I would not think, why would you want to hear about my cats, right? But I flipped the story around and then gave a point to why it's important to you. And because the topic of the day is storytelling, that story is wrapped around a story. So what happens when the science behind good storytelling, what happens when you actually hear a good story? So 3 chemicals get released in your brain, okay? When you hear a good story, you ever heard of dopamine, right? Drop in the comments if you heard of dopamine before, okay? So they did this experiment with mice, and they hooked up contraptions to the brain. So whenever they would, the mice would press buttons, it would go signal the brain of, okay, it's going to release some dopamine, okay? Every single time the mouse would press that button, more dopamine would release. Does this sound familiar? Right? The mouse would not sleep. The mouse would not eat, would not poop. They just wanted to press that button. Does this sound like social media to you? Right? Every single time we press a button, we get more likes. It's a release of dopamine. Okay? Too much dopamine, right? Anything in life. Too many things can be bad for you, right? Bad or good on both sides. Too much dopamine could be bad for you. Too little dopamine is maybe you need a little bit more. Okay, so there's extremes on both sides. But when you tell a good story, dopamine gets released. Your audience is like, wow, I like that. I want more of it. Okay, I'm talking about a good story. Wow, that was really good. That's what I need. It craves. That's what I was craving for. Right? Think about it. Are you able to watch educational videos all day long, or do you just want to sit back and enjoy a good story on your Netflix show and a good book, right? Because you just need that release. Sometimes you can't think too much. You want to be lost in another world. Maybe that's why you watch Netflix. Maybe that's why you read books, because educational stuff all of the time, right? Nonfiction books all of the time might be a little bit too much. Sometimes you need to, okay, I need to dive into a good story. So again, when you are in the presence or you are listening to a good story, your brain releases dopamine. It's like, wow, I want more. Second chemical that the brain releases is something that will help you pay more attention. You know how you drive every single day and it's mundane, right? When if a kid comes out, you're going to say, wow, that kid just came out. I have to press the brakes. This is something called cortisol. When cortisol is released in your brain, there's something that is different from your every single day life. It might be because of fear. Maybe it's because of danger. That's why people pay attention in the story. That's why people pay attention to Netflix. That's why people pay attention to any good movie or any book, because there's always a challenge. If your next show that you're going to watch, Desperate Housewives, okay? Everyone is just walking down the street. There's nothing happening. Would you still watch anymore? Now, I'm not saying that challenge has to be a failure story. Oh, I fell and I broke my nose. It doesn't have to be a failure story. It doesn't have to be a sob story. You can have a story of challenge. Wow, I want to get 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, and these are my challenges. Wow, our challenge is knowing how to tell stories. So whatever it is, people pay attention because they have a story of a challenge that they can relate to. They can feel that challenge, no matter how simple that challenge is. If you think of any good book, any good movie, any good stories, right? There's always a challenge. In the story I told earlier about my cats, I have a challenge, many challenges about giving a pill to my cat. Again, if life was perfect, you would not watch Desperate Housewives. You would not watch the show that you're watching now, because on every single episode, I guarantee you, there's a little something that grabs you, something of that challenge. So again, cortisol releases from your brain when you tell a good story, and it makes you aware. It's the same thing as driving a car and something different happened. Okay, when you tell a good story, that's why people pick up and say, oh, I now have to pay attention. The last chemical that it releases is something called oxytocin. Basically, they say, instead of giving Cupid an arrow to shoot, just give him oxytocin to release. Okay, when you release oxytocin, it's basically, think of it's a love chemical. Okay, it's a chemical that you feel more bonded to people. You feel like there's a sense of we're able to relate in a way. Okay, oxytocin gets released, and you're able to say, we're both human too. It's always human to human. And they say storytelling can make you more attractive because oxytocin is released. So you feel like you are more attracted to the other person. So here's the thing. When you tell a good story as a sales leader, as a CEO of a company, even as a good friend, people are able to bond with you a little bit more. So these three chemicals, of course, there's more too, but these are the three main ones, get released. When you tell facts, none of these get released. So if you want people to engaged, right, be engaged, stories release dopamine. And they make your audience pick up and say, oh, wow, I have to listen to this. There's something going on. And they're able to relate with you a little bit more. Now, there's a lot of chemicals that's released in the brain, but also when you tell a good story, people are 22 times more likely, again, to remember your facts. Okay, I said that a little bit earlier, but they did this experiment. So they went to first graders, second graders, and they had two cards. Okay, this card is a shoe, and this is an apple, and they had like 21 of these cards. Before recess, they would say, okay, look at this apple, look at this picture of a shoe. And then after recess, they gave them 21. They asked the kids, how many can you remember? What do you think? How many can the kids remember after recess? Actually, I would like to go on recess now. But okay, they can remember probably just 1 or 0. Okay, so they did an experiment. They were showing the same, same signs to another different group. They said, okay, this apple and this shoe, can you put it in a sentence? Okay, so make a sentence, apple and shoe. One day I found an apple in my shoe. So after recess, they came back and they asked the kids, how many of these pictures can you remember out of the 21? Now the numbers went up from 1 to 7. Here's the next experiment. They show the 2 pictures, the 21 pictures again. Now, instead of putting it into a sentence, put it into a question. Okay, so apple and shoe. How did the apple get into my shoes? So they got the kids back. When they put it in the form of a question, kids they remember like 15, like 16, something like that. Of course, you know where I'm getting to now. The very last thing is they put it into a story arc. They put it into a story. Most of the kids who came back from recess remembered almost all of it. Again, people are 22 times more likely when you are wrapping your pictures or your facts in a story. And that's if you want to motivate people, if you want to inspire people, if you want to, again, make a change, even in your email, there's so many facts out there. How can they just remember those facts, right? They can say, oh, that's a good story. I'm going to remember a little bit of that story. Okay, so that's a little bit about the science behind good storytelling. So let's get into it. How the heck do you tell a good story? One thing you have to know about storytelling is that we can all use it because it comes in patterns. Okay, there are certain formulas that we can use. Here's the thing. Have any of you heard of Pathos, Logos, Ethos? Right? Pathos is relating to the heart. Logos is the logic, and ethos is your personality, your credibility. Like I said earlier, the facts, logic relating to the heart, and credibility. Who came up with this stuff? Some Greek people, right? Who came up with this stuff? Pathos, Logos, Ethos. What do you think? Who do you think came up with this? Some people say Socrates. It was Aristotle who came up with this. When did he come up with this? 4th century BC. Our medium of communication have changed from the phone to the smartphone, fax, computers, whatever it is nowadays. But the way you still persuade people, you still motivate people, you inspire people to take action is exactly the same way. Aristotle in the 4th century BC said emotional appeal is one of the best things to do. Pathos, right? And then it's logos, and then it's ethos. It's the same exact thing today. But actually, a question for you. How do you go from 4 stars to 5 stars, right? 5 being the best. And I know some of you are thinking, I don't give 5. I give 4.5. So do you remember the last time you gave something a 5 star? Think about it. Some people would say you're probably thinking of your Uber driver or your Lyft driver. Maybe it's at a hotel, maybe it's at a restaurant. But this is what they found out, okay? Carmen Gallo, one of my favorite authors, he talks about communication skills. This is what he found out. So going from a 4 star to a 5 star, here's the difference. In a 4 star, the hotel is perfect. There's nothing to complain about. The restaurant, wow, the food is really amazing. Oh, the movie is really, really well produced. Oh, wow, going into that Uber, that car ride, I didn't die. The survey was good, right? There's nothing to complain about in a 4 star. In the 5 star review, there's always an emotional word that is left in the review. Wow, eating at this restaurant made me feel like I was at my grandmother's. Or, wow, staying at this hotel made me feel like I was the most important person in the world. Wow, here's the thing. It doesn't matter if it's high budget or it's low budget. right? Think about it. Do you remember the last time you went to something so low budget? It doesn't matter, right? Because you just loved it so much because of the vibe or the emotional way you got connected. So if you want to go from a 4 to a 5, how can you induce that emotional appeal? Of course, I am saying you have to be good, right? Your services or your product has to be good first, or you have to be authentic first. But first, how can you really go from good service, good product, and then go even further and add in that emotional appeal? I'm going to say again, the budget does not matter. So, okay, good storytelling. Many people, they tell stories, but many people actually don't want to listen to it. So I'm going to go into one thing you probably did not know about me is I used to be a hip hop dancer. I used to be a hip hop street performer. I've been dancing for 12, 13 years. And I'm on the screen now doing something called tutting. Okay. Here's the thing. When I was learning this tutting move, or even if I'm learning the wave, right? I had to learn it this way. I had to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I can just do it a little bit faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I can just do it smooth, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it goes to the other side. But here's the thing. There's still no originality. I can do this back and forth, and that's a wave, right? But when I master it, that's when I can know how to freestyle. So what if you had communication foundations that you can work on and practice? So every single time you use this, it comes off as engaging and appealing to your audience. But think about it this way, and everything that you've learned in your life, at first, it can be super awkward, or it can be very strange, right? I was even asking a client of mine, I said, when was the last time you became confident in something? And she said, going to a soul cycle, riding, the cycling. And I said, the very first time you went to, go into those cycling classes, how did you feel? She said, I felt super awkward because she didn't know what moves to do. She didn't have stamina. People were doing certain moves and she didn't know what she was doing. But she kept on, I'm like, how did you become more confident in it? And she said she just went back and kept on practicing, right? Every single time she practiced on something else. And then I asked her now, how do you feel about cycling now? And she said she's one of the best in class because she kept on going back. It's the consistency and she knew what to work on. If you want to be a better storyteller, if you want to be more successful in your personal or professional life, most people say, I want to be a storyteller. They don't know what to work on. So I want to give you this one quick formula, and it's called PREP, okay? P-R-E-P, and I'm going to explain this a little bit further. PREP, P-R-E-P. I'm not sure if it's backwards on the video, but the P stands for point. The R stands for reason. The E stands for example. And the P again stands for point. Now, I'm not saying you have to use this like a debate, okay, X, Y, Z. I'm just saying, do you understand it, right? If many of you are listening now, maybe you want to be more articulate, maybe you want to come across as more engaging. I'm just saying, do you know how to practice the foundations? Because once you get so good at the foundations, you can learn how to improvise off of it. So what does point mean? Your point is your opinion, okay? Your point is your opinion. Your reason is your why. And your example is usually a story. And your point, again, is you just go back to your opinion. Here's the thing. You know how sometimes you give your opinion, people just don't give 1 or 2, but they give 1,000 reasons. And you're thinking, this is too much for me. Or here's the other thing. People just share too many examples, and you're thinking to yourself, what the heck is your point? Why are you still sharing your story? I don't get your point. So can someone drop in the comments below, give me a topic to talk about? I'm going to explain this a little bit further. Put it in the comments. Give me a topic to talk about. I just want to demonstrate this really quickly. And then I'm going to go in a little bit more of the story side of it, because the foundation of this is it's really crucial. So give me a topic to talk about. And I just want to demonstrate this for you during this live stream. So if you guys don't have any topics, I'll think of one, but I'm just going to wait a little bit more. So if you can give me a topic, the topic could be anything. It could be one word, it could be a question, it could be a statement, it could be what do I think about certain things. Give me any topic to talk about. And if you're watching the replay on this later, drop down, what do you think about this? What do you think about what I've been saying so far? Hit the like button to let me know if you are enjoying this content. And as you're thinking of topics, think of any topic. Again, if you want to subscribe to this channel, I'm always here to help you improve your communication and public speaking skills. Okay, so we got one. Boston real estate. Boston real estate is really crazy because it is super fast. And, I'm sure this is around the country, but especially in Boston, if you want to buy a house, it gets snapped up just like that. Last year, my wife and I, we were looking for a house for our very first time. We looked at one open house, gone just like that the next day. We looked at another one online, gone just like that in 2 days. It was very stressful and super fast. And the market is just, because there are so many people, is super quick. And so that's why the Boston real estate scene is super quick. So you just have to jump on it. So that's it. I'm not saying it has to be profound. The point is, Boston real estate, super fast, right? And it's just moving all over the place. And I gave a story and I wrapped it up with a point. Here's the thing, okay? Example. What kind of stories can you tell? Here are really quick 3 stories. You can tell a personal story. You can tell a story about other people. Or you can tell a case study. I just gave a personal story. So again, this formula works really that much more powerful when you know how to go into, what kind of stories can I tell? A story about other people, a story about myself, a story about a case study. So as a public speaking trainer, I worked with people in the science field, in the financial field, to just entrepreneurs. Most people will have a different story in their mind and thinking, I am giving a scientific presentation. I can't tell you anything about myself. I cannot put stories in. I'm just saying that's okay because it's the stories that you're telling yourself, because everyone has been doing it this way. And you know yourself that even if you look at someone else's presentation, you will be bored too because it's too much information. I'm just saying, do you know how to sneak in stories? You don't have to tell a personal story. You can tell a story about a case study and then demonstrate that. Earlier, I'm going to demonstrate this again. Earlier, I talked about why storytelling is important to you. The reason is because it releases chemicals in your brains, right? The reason is because storytelling is so effective to help you engage with people. And I gave an example of my cats to say, wow, once you wrap your facts in a pill pocket, your stories are more effective. I basically gave you the same thing. Point, reason, example, point. You can do the exact same thing in your email. You can do the same exact thing in your marketing, let's say. But here's the thing. You don't have to use this in this order. You can tell a story first, give a reason later, give your opinion, last. So just know how to play around, because when you're giving an example, you're relating to the heart. When you're giving a reason, you're relating to the head, okay? So you're relating to the heart and to the head. But how do you know when you're telling a story? How do you know when you're telling a story? There's always, write this down, there's always a time and a place. The other day, I was walking down in downtown Crossing, or yesterday, my wife said this to me, or, okay, there's always a time and a place. Once upon a time. Or did you know that a long time ago? So if you say to a firefighter, what do you do? The firefighter might be able to describe it and say, okay, every single day, blah, 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 that we do this. But if the firefighter said, okay, for example, yesterday evening at 3 a.m., we got a phone call and I had to put on he launched into story mode. So think about it this way. If you want to go from educational to edutainment to story, just give a time and a place, and people will flip into story mode just like that. So this is a framework. I want you to practice this. You can even type it in the comments below. Okay, I want to give you a topic. Smartphones. Okay, if you're watching the replay later, practice this on the comment. Smartphones. Okay, what's your opinion? What's the point about smartphones? What's your reason about smartphones? Do this. Look, when's the next time you're going to practice? Practice it now. Smartphones. What's your opinion about smartphones? You can even say my reason of smartphone, and here's an example of smartphone, and here's the point again of smartphones. I'm not going to give you another example because I want you to give me this example. A master has failed more times than the beginner has even tried. Look, I'm going to say that again. A master has failed more times than the beginner has even tried. If you want to learn how to ride a bicycle, you don't have to read a whole book on riding a bicycle. You just have to practice. Same exact thing with your storytelling skills. A client came up to me, and we were working together, and he said, I want to be a better storyteller. You know what I asked him? Well, do you tell stories? And you know what he said? No. How can you be a better storyteller if you don't tell stories? How can you get a six-pack if you don't do crunches? If you want to be a better storyteller, don't just give facts. You have to actually tell a story. Now, you don't have to be the best storyteller, right? You have to wait for people to tell you how good the stories are, okay? You can just be a level 2 storyteller, but you just have to really realize, wow, storytelling is so important, and you just have to keep on doing it. So how do you know when you're a good storyteller? People start telling you. How do you know when you're a good cook? Well, you can be a good cook to yourself when you're by yourself cooking those noodles or ramen noodles and whatever you add into it. But if no one else likes your spaghetti, you're a bad cook. So how do you know when you're a good storyteller? When people are saying, wow, you have to listen to this person's story. It's like saying same thing to a cook. Wow, that person makes the best cake. What's the recipe for that cake? Like, people will ask you, wow, how do you tell stories? Wow, what's your technique? So how do you really tell good stories other from this framework? Do you remember the last time you had a bad experience with something? Do you remember the last time you had a really bad experience with something? That is good storytelling. I want you to think about that. Now, again, I'm not saying it's the bad, of course, there's bad things that happen, but I want you to think of that experience. And then describe it to a person, because usually when something so bad happens to us, most people will just want to say, oh, this is what happened to us, X, Y, Z. So the last time I had a call with Verizon, I was on hold for like 2-3 hours. And then when the person got on to me, the phone disconnected, right? I just wanted to I want her to answer a quick question about my bill, but that service, I was on hold for, so this is what I mean. When you want to describe a bad experience, you really go into detail, right? You really go into detail. So if you want to be a good storyteller, you have to make it so that you describe these details. So if your audience is, for example, like the audience is with you, okay? I said that badly, but tell a story like if you're driving a car, the person is sitting next to you. Wow, right now we're going down the street and we're going to take a turn, but this person came out of nowhere. When you tell a good story, your audience will feel like they are right there with you. They can live your experience again. And the best way that I always teach storytelling is think of these bad experiences that you want. Look, when you tell, it's like those bad experiences, it's like you really want to tell people what happened to you. So same thing with storytelling. You really want to tell people what happened to you. But again, becoming a purposeful storyteller is making it purposeful to your audience, right? I can tell you a story about Verizon, but it's just me complaining. Okay, so how can you flip from complaining to making it purposeful to your audience? Well, you have to listen to your audience. There's one last thing before I end it off for today. As a public speaker, think of this as public speaking, because I can speak to many of you and I'm just speaking for the whole 40 minutes right now. As a public speaker, I can tell you a 10-minute story and you will still be engaged. If you flip that around to a one-on-one conversation, think about this. A public speaker tells you the same exact 5-minute story on a one-on-one level. What happens? You will get distracted just like that. So your power of influence in a public speaking situation and a group situation, even on video, 80% speaking, 20% listening. You still have to listen to your audience. When it's flipped around to a one-on-one conversation, it's 80% listening and 20% speaking. And the group level is 50-50. I'm going to come back later because Gretchen just gave us an example of prep. Again, prep, point, reason, example, point. Gretchen said, smartphones are so distracting. They draw attention with the many connections they offer to news and people. This morning, okay, see how there's a time and a place? This morning at home at my jammies, I love that. I was checking my emails, my LinkedIn, my Facebook, my text, my Times, the Times, Apple News, and so many interfaces to check and see what is new. So you had a fear of missing out. We all hate to miss what the latest is. And that's why smartphones are so distracting. Wow. What do you guys think? That's a good one, Gretchen. Right? You gave us your opinion. You gave us reasons. You backed that up by example, and you gave a point. Here's what's so powerful with a story. When you share a story, you are sharing your personality, because at the end of the day, your vibe attracts your tribe. Gretchen said, this morning at home in my jammies, right? Only you would say jammies. I would say pajamas. You're sharing a little bit about your personality. So even if you are a business, you can share, when you share a story, you're sharing your personality about the business. When you are an individual, you're sharing your mindsets, right? You're sharing what makes you tick. And here's what's missing in the business world. When many people share just logical information, there's no personality. There's no extra umph, right? So they asked Adele, the singer Adele, they asked her, how do you know when your next song is going to be a viral hit? You know what she said? She cries. Now, I'm not saying for you to cry over everything that you're doing, but she said when she's writing it, she emotionally feels it. Same thing with you. The next time you write an email, the next time you give a presentation or do marketing or anything, do you feel your story? Because if you don't feel it, your audience probably won't feel it. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the power of influence on the public speaking level. 80% speaking, 20% listening. Of course, these are just standards, I'm going to say. But in the listening conversation, in the one-on-one listening conversation, your power of influence on a one-on-one is when you're listening more than you're talking, right? Because here's why. When you know how to ask the right questions, your communication partner will come up with their own stories and their own emotions faster than you can induce it. Think about it. Do you remember a favorite childhood memory? Really think about it. Do you remember the last time you had good food, right? You'll go back to that restaurant. You'll go back to your childhood memory. And here's the thing. More importantly, you can see what's around you. You can smell what's around you. You might even be able to feel what's around you. So if you are a good storyteller in a one-on-one conversation, how can you ask questions to tell more stories, to listen to the stories, right? You ask questions and you have to know that person, because here's the thing. People don't care about how much you know until they know about how much you care, right? A great motivational speaker said that. People don't care about how much you know until they know about how much you care. So the people that's surrounding you, the 5 people that's surrounding you every single day, they care about how you listen. I guarantee that. The 5, 10 people, they don't care too much about your stories. They care about how much you listen. So why is listening so important in a one-on-one conversation? If I am next to my wife, she does not want to hear stories about the stuff that I'm telling you guys about today, storytelling and business. Me and her, we go to CrossFit together. She wants to hear, even if I say, oh, did you know this one person did this at CrossFit? Her ears will start perking up, right? Here's the thing. A story does not have to be 5 minutes. It could be a one-sentence gossip. Even if I said, oh, hey, today I gave a story about a lesson about storytelling, she will be like, okay, I don't want to hear you. But if I said one sentence about something that she's interested in, wow, did you know someone did this in CrossFit? Her ears will just perk up, and she'll start sharing. She'll start asking questions. So do you know how to ask the right questions to get the stories that you need to tell? So this is also why storytelling is so hard, is because in a public speaking situation, there's different ways to tackle it, from a one-on-one conversation to a group conversation to when you're on sales, right, talking to clients, to when you are doing an email marketing, to when you are a leader trying to motivate people. So today we talked about the science behind good storytelling, because it releases chemicals in your brains, right? It helps you remember more. We talked about a little storytelling framework PREP, right? Your point, reason, example, point, the stories that you need to tell, story about your personal life, stories about other people, story about a case study. There's always a time and a place when you tell a story. And think about good storytelling as if you want to just describe your experience to the other person, but you have to make it purposeful, make it impactful to your audience. So now that you know all about this with storytelling, what the heck are you going to do to practice your storytelling? Okay. If you get an iPhone, what are you going to do? You're going to download some apps. You're going to go on text. You're going to do, figure out all the different things you're going to do on your phone. This is good technology, but storytelling is state-of-the-art technology. You have this technology. How are you going to use it? I guarantee you get the new iPhone 11 that's coming out next year probably. You're gonna say, I'm gonna do all this with the camera. You just got powerful state-of-the-art technology with storytelling. Are you going to practice it today? Right? I gave you something actually to practice with prep. Right? How can you tell people about your experiences? You can even go on video, right? Like what I'm doing now, go on Facebook Live, share a story. You're writing an email, use the prep formula. You can use this in almost any setting. The prep, you can start with the story, give your reason, end with the point. Again, there's a lot to do with storytelling. So I want to open it up for Q&A if you have any questions. I hope that you enjoyed what you're doing today. I also coach people on communication and public speaking skills. If you are looking to rise up in your career, or if you're starting a business, you need to know how to pitch, or if you just have that one presentation that you really have to get good at, or just let me know. But can you drop some questions if you have any questions in the comments? I would love to answer any questions that you might have about storytelling. Again, storytelling is an art form as much as a science. Gretchen, I want to say thank you to you too. But storytelling is as much as an art form to a science, because once you have the formula down, like art, right? We all can learn the techniques of painting. But what makes some painters so good? Because they are creative, right? They have their own way of doing it, but they first had to learn how to draw first. Same thing with storytelling, same thing with communication. There's science behind it, but once you learn it enough, it becomes art. So we have a question. What are the best storytellers doing that others are not? M. Volch, what is your name? So what are the best storytellers doing that others are not? More compelling content or just better delivery? So here's the thing about storytelling. You have to, if you are a really good storyteller, you're always hunting for stories. Mike, thank you, Mike. Mike, you're always hunting for stories. Storytellers take the best and most mundane things in their life, and they're always thinking about how can I turn this story and make it purposeful for the audience. But here's the thing. Good storytellers usually have certain topics that they talk about. So here's the thing. I talk about communication skills, right? And public speaking. Most of my stories, here's the thing. I know how to use my stories and wrap it around that point of communication and public speaking. So Mike, if you want to be a better storyteller, why should people listen to you? Think about it this way. If you were to give a TED Talk, who do you want to be known for? Why would people listen to you? Now, again, of course, you can tell every single day stories of things that happen to you with friends. They don't have to, it doesn't have to be too purposeful for them. But again, if my wife likes CrossFit, I might tell a story about CrossFit that can be impactful to her. So again, it's all about your audience, because if you tell a story and it doesn't relate to your audience, at the end of the day, what's the point of your story? And it's up to you, Mike, and everyone else that's listening, for you to connect the dots. If I just told you a story about my cats, you will be thinking, what's your point? It's up to me to say 2 sentences and say, wow, this pill is like information, and this pill pocket is like a story. Once you put the pill and the information in the story, wow, magically you want to digest it. I had to connect the dots for you. So the best storytellers, they listen to the audience, they know how to connect the dots for them. Don't think it's too simple. You still have to connect the dots to, for your audience. Oh, thank you, Mike, for that question. Any other questions about storytelling? If you are watching the replay of this later, please also drop your questions in the comments too. If you have any other questions, feel free to email me at kit@bostonspeaks.com as well. You can go to bostonspeaks.com for more free resources and content. And again, I hope you subscribe to this channel because on this YouTube channel, I always talk about the right communication skills, the right public speaking skills that you can use to be more influential, to make more impact, to create more change, to become more successful, earn more money, whatever it is that you want to do with your communication skills. Because anything that you do in life, I guarantee you it will come back to how you communicate with yourself and how you communicate with others. So again, I just want to say thank you all for your time. Again, my name is Kit Pang. I hope you subscribe to this channel. Hit the subscribe button somewhere. I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.